Let's talk about the origin story of Judaism and Christianity. It's a story most of us think we know pretty well. But what if the story we've all been told is, well, not quite right? What if it's completely different? You know the standard version, right? Judaism is this ancient, sturdy tree trunk, and at some point, a new branch, Christianity, just sort of sprouts off and grows in its own direction. It's a natural, inevitable parting of the ways. Super clean, super simple. But what if it's wrong? To help us see a totally different story, historian Daniel Boyarin starts with a riddle. So, get this. A guy crosses a border every day pushing a wheelbarrow that's just full of sand. The guards are obsessed. They search the sand over and over, but they never find a thing. The question is, what is he smuggling? He's smuggling wheelbarrows, of course. The real contraband wasn't hidden in the sand at all. It was the thing that was hiding in plain sight the whole time. Okay, so that little riddle is the key to this whole explainer. If the border between Judaism and Christianity wasn't this natural river that just split, but was actually man-made, then what were the wheelbarrows? What were the big ideas that were used as the tools to build that very border? And that brings us to our first really crucial distinction. Was this a gentle, organic parting, or was it a deliberate political partition? Trust me, the difference between those two words changes everything. This right here is the heart of the argument. Boyarin says, look, this border wasn't some natural feature of the landscape. It was a line drawn in the sand. It was a political act, just as artificial as the partitioning of India and Pakistan or any other border drawn on a map by people with an agenda. So let's just be crystal clear about these two models. On one hand, you've got a passive, organic partition, and on the other, you have an active, political partition. And this isn't just playing with words. It completely shifts how we see this history. It's not just a story about theology anymore. It's a story about power and the creation of identity. So if this border was actively built, you gotta ask, how did they do it? What kind of tools did these ideological border guards actually use? Well, the answer is a concept that was itself a brand new invention of the time. The main tool they used was something called heresiology. Now, just think of it as the official job of the religious customs inspectors. These were thinkers and writers who basically created a science of wrong belief. They spent their time meticulously identifying, cataloging, and defining what was in and what was out. And to even create this tool, they had to change the language itself. The Greek word heresies, it used to be a totally neutral word. It just meant a choice, like choosing which school of philosophy to follow. But around the 2nd century, it got weaponized. It was re-engineered to mean something dangerous, a false doctrine. It became heresy. And here's the crucial thing to get. You can't have heresy without first inventing its twin, orthodoxy. They are a package deal. So step 1, you invent the idea that there is only one correct way to believe. Step 2, you define literally everything else as a dangerous deviation from that one true belief. And finally, step 3, you patrol your shiny new border, slapping labels on anyone who gets too close or crosses it, calling them heretics. All right, let's look at a real-world case study to see exactly how this border building worked in practice. It's about one of the most important ideas in both traditions and how it was essentially sacrificed to build a wall between them. So how does an idea that everyone shares become a dividing wall? The perfect example is the story of the Logos. So what is Logos theology? Put simply, it's the idea that there's a second divine figure. You can call it God's word or wisdom or logos, and this figure acts as a kind of go-between, an intermediary between the ultimate, transcendent God and our physical, messy world. Now here's the absolute kicker. This idea was everywhere. It wasn't some exclusive Christian thing or some exclusive Jewish thing. It was just in the air. It was a part of the shared cultural and religious soup that everyone was swimming in. The person who wrote the Gospel of John for sure believed in it, but so did tons of Jewish thinkers before and during that time. It was common ground. And then the partition happens. It's this incredible moment. In what seems like a kind of unspoken agreement, the authorities on both sides make a move. The Christian heresy hunters declared that belief in the Logos is the single defining feature of Christianity. And at the exact same time, rabbinic authorities declared that this very same belief, which they called two powers in heavy, is now heresy. Just like that, a shared idea, a bridge, becomes a wall. Now, this whole border building project had consequences that went way, way beyond just these two groups. In fact, you could argue it helped create the very category we now just call religion. No, that's not an exaggeration. The entire concept of religion, as we think of it today, wasn't just there. It had to be invented, and it was born right out of this very struggle for definition. Think about it. Before this time, your identity was tied to your people, your land, your customs. But this new thing, religion, was an identity based purely on what you believed, on having the correct opinions or orthodoxy. It was an identity that you could choose, totally separate from your ethnicity or what country you came from, and that was a radical, radical innovation. And this is the great paradox, isn't it? In order to become a religion, Christianity needed another religion to define itself against. It needed Judaism to become its religious other, the thing that it was not. That difference wasn't just discovered, it was actively manufactured to become the foundation of a new kind of identity. So if the old family tree model is broken, what do we replace it with? Let's check out a new way to visualize this whole history. So instead of that old family tree, the Stammbaum, with its neat, clean breaks, Boyarin suggests a wave theory model. I want you to picture a map, a contact zone. And on this map, cultural ideas are spreading like ripples in a pond. They overlap, they mix together, they create these really complex patterns. The borders are fuzzy, they're fluid, and they're always being fought over. Not clean branches on a tree at all. And all of this leads to Boyarin's most powerful, most memorable summary of the whole idea. It's not a parent-child relationship. He says they are twins, born at the same time, in the same cultural womb, and they have been struggling since birth to define themselves against each other. And so that's the question we're left with. And this isn't just about ancient history, right? This is a fundamental challenge to how we think about identity itself. What does it mean if the lines we use to define who we are and who we aren't timeless facts of the universe, but historical artifacts, borders that were drawn on purpose by specific people a long time ago? What changes for us today when we realize those borders could have been drawn completely differently?